Welcome back to American Agenda. A heated exchange in the White House press briefing room. The White House, this going on over the Supreme Court's ruling on a Texas abortion law. Listen.
Following up on the Texas law, why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Why does the president, who does he believe then should look out for the unborn child?
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions, and up to a woman to make those decisions with her doctor. I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing. The president believes their rights should be respected. Go ahead. I think we got to move on. I think we have to move on. You've had plenty of time today. Go ahead.
A great exchange there. Here to weigh in on this is the Vice President of Communications of the Susan B. Anthony List, Mallory Quigley, and founder and president of Live Action, Lila Rose. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, obviously this is a huge win for the pro-life community. Many people very upset about it in the pro-choice community. But Mallory, I want to start with you because you heard Jen Psaki there talking about women's rights. And that's really how this administration is trying to pivot this whole thing, that this is against women's rights and that the world should be outraged. Is this against women's rights?
What we're interested in communicating to the American people is that at every abortion, there are two people involved. There is, of course, the mother and also an unborn child with a heartbeat that is detectable at least by 6 weeks of pregnancy, and that is a second patient. That is a member of the family whose ultrasound picture is being put on the refrigerator. This is the right to life is so fundamental. Without that right, no other rights ever come into play. It was a civil rights leader, Alveda King, that told me that 10 years ago, and I've never forgotten it since. The pro-life movement is about loving both mother and child, loving and respecting them both, and we reject this false dichotomy that says in order for women's rights to be respected, that it necessitates killing their unborn children.
Okay, Lila, I want to get your reaction to President Biden speaking out on the court's decision, releasing a statement today saying, I'm sure you've seen it, the Supreme Court's ruling overnight is an unprecedented assault on a woman's constitutional rights under Roe v. Wade, which has been the law of the land for almost 50 years. By allowing a law to go into effect that empowers private citizens in Texas to sue health care providers, family members supporting a woman exercising a right to choose after 6 weeks, or even a friend who drives her to a hospital or clinic, it unleashes unconstitutional chaos and empowers self-anointed enforcers to have devastating impacts. What's your thought?
Listen, President Biden's view is antiquated and wrong. It's interesting how he doesn't even once mention, as Mallory said, the second person, the second patient, the child. There's two human beings involved in a pregnancy. There's the child and then there's the mother. And President Biden has completely left aside his job of protecting all Americans, all citizens. That includes children in the womb. They are just as human as you and me. And, you know, personally, as a woman, I take offense at the fact that we are being told as women that it's our right to kill a child. I have no right to kill my child. No woman has a right to kill her child. We do have a responsibility as a society to care for each other, to help each other, to help pregnant women. That's where our focus should be and where the focus of the president should be, not enabling abortionists to kill children.
You know, Mallory, even House Speaker Nancy Pelosi weighing in on this by releasing her own statement today, saying, in part, the Supreme Court's cowardly dark of night decision to uphold a flagrantly unconstitutional assault on women's rights and the health is staggering, delivering a catastrophe to women in Texas, particularly women of color and women from low-income communities. Every woman everywhere has the constitutional right to basic health care. And she goes on, but once again, making this about health care, the court has said this may not be over yet. Where do we go from here?
Yes, well, a lot of adjectives there. Clearly, pro-abortion advocates are losing their mind over the duly elected state legislators in Texas acting on the will of the people, passing a law that is consensus for the people in that state, signed into law by a governor of the people elected that represents the consensus of that state. The Supreme Court is allowing this law to remain in effect while litigation continues at the lower court level. This is great news for pro-life Americans, great news for supporters of former President Trump, whose 3 Supreme Court nominees were all in the pro-life majority with last night's decision. The Supreme Court has a major abortion case on its horizon, the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. We're expecting the oral arguments this fall with a decision in the summer. That's going to have implications for Texas as well as for the entire country. Yeah. We want to take the handcuffs off the states and allow us all to pass laws that reflect the values of the people that live in each state while we pursue federal strategy to protect all life.
Okay, Lila, 30 seconds. Wanted to get your final thoughts here.
I mean, it's unprecedented that the court effectively allowed, for now anyways, Texas's heartbeat law to stay in effect. The Supreme Court, choosing not to stay it, not to stop it. It's a huge deal. The pro-life movement is stronger than ever. There's unprecedented pro-life legislation. The heartbeat bill is just one example. At the state level right now, the abortion industry is, as I think we're seeing, is losing their mind. The politicians in power that are pro-abortion are losing their minds because justice is moving forward. All human beings have human rights. Children deserve those rights too, and women are not benefited by abortion. And I think the country's waking up to that.
Mallory, Lila, thank you so much for your insights and for what you do to speak up for life every day.
Thank you.